end goal is business, make money, right? For you to play football, but make money, right? Like, that's the end goal for most people. You love the game, you blah, 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 blah. But if you're only going to play football and never give a about social media and marketing, the overall business is going to be hurt. It's like playing with one arm. So I say, like, how can you be relatable and have great content? That's the one thing that you can always do. You can always put out good content, no matter if you're playing football or you're done.
Welcome to this episode of the Business of Athletes podcast, where we cover the business of athletes from all angles. And on this episode, we have the pleasure of interviewing Pat Curran, the co-founder of Curran Media Company. How you doing, man?
I'm good. I appreciate you reaching out, and let's chop it up here.
Now tell me, did I pronounce that right?
You're good. It's Curran.
Curran,
is
okay.
Right there. Curran is right there. I've had it Curran. Curran is how we pronounce it. I don't know how you pronounce it though.
Okay, now let me. I gotta do Curran because I have a difficult last name as well, and so I don't trip because I've gotten Blasingame, Blazingame, Blasingami. People ask me as an African, so
yeah, I can see all that.
I just like to say it the right way. So let's start at the beginning, man. Let's start at you, wherever you want to start, but where I know you were a defensive back in college, former athlete.
Yeah.
Tell our audience a little bit about yourself, man. Your background.
Yeah. So I was a walk-on DB at the Bowling Green State University. I was just a dude, right? I was a good high school player in Ohio and ended up walking on there, and as a preferred walk-on, which doesn't really mean that much, right? But I was invited to camp, and I went there. I learned so much. My head coach my freshman year was Urban Meyer, who I was not a fan of, but as soon as he left, I was like, I understand what he was trying to do here and what he did do. And I played for 3 years. I finally got in as a redshirt sophomore. I didn't get in another game, and I was like, I'm out, and I quit. So I quit right after a game, just walked off the field, never came back. After that, I had got into coaching. And so I ended up, this was 2004. I finished school in 2006 at Bowling Green. I was doing an internship down at UCF, and I get a call from at the time, my sister's boyfriend, now my brother-in-law. And he was like, hey, we're looking for a corners coach. Our guy kind of sucks that we got right now. It's middle of camp, by the way. It's like August 15th or something. And he was like, do you want to come coach football? And I was like, sure. What's the pay? And he was like, 0. And I was like, all right. So I moved in with my dad, who was like 30 minutes away from where this college was, Oberlin College. And I waited tables, I bussed tables, not even to the level of a waited. I bussed tables, so cleaned up this restaurant, and that's how I made money. And then I coached football, and I was like, bam, I'm going to be a college football coach. And my same brother-in-law, he trained athletes in the local Cleveland area, and he was like, you should start coming to train with us after this first season. And so I would train high school and middle school kids. And then we were hosting this combine for like D2, D3 places, and I was like, I bet you I got some eligibility left, like kind of just messing around. And then I called the NCAA the next day, and I was like, do I have some eligibility left? And sure enough, I had eligibility left. So I had not played in 4 years, and I was in good shape for like some regular ass person, but not in football shape. But I decided to compete in this combine camp, and I did not do well. My footwork was sloppy. I don't even think I had put on spikes in 4 years. But anyway, I Ashland University, one of the coaches, I think took me as a favor, and it was like, hey, you can come walk on. Maybe there'll be a scholarship at the end. Who knows? I get there in June. By August, I was on scholarship, and I ended up being an all-conference player. And my goal, Division II again, but good football. We made the playoffs for the first time, or won a playoff game for the first time in school history. Made the playoffs for the second time in school history, and I made that move because I wanted to grow in the coaching space. And so then after that, I went right into being a GA at Ashland. So I'm like, well, shoot, now I'm continuing to move up this level in the coaching world. I didn't get a job 2 years later at that same school that I thought I would get. And at the same time, my brother was starting what would have been our first company together. And at the time, it was just him. And it was to help high school athletes get recruited to play college. He was like, hey, you want to come on board? And I was like, bam, let's do it.
What was this company called?
Webleets.
Okay.
It was like a LinkedIn for high school kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's kind of where I got out of athletic play and coaching. Fast forward a couple years, and I moved out to LA where I'm at right now. And what my brother and I were working on then, we kind of transitioned into like the content space, and we were working with big companies like USA Today and CBS Sports and the UFC on these different projects and campaigns, mostly fitness based, but a lot of crossover, obviously, with athletes. And we would work with these athletes and be like, holy, this person doesn't know what they're doing with their social media, or this was such a half effort on this campaign, or if they'd asked for 5K instead of 1,500, they would have got it because we knew what it was from the brand side. So we shifted to then go work with athletes on marketing, NIL stuff. A couple years ago, with the whole college landscape opening up, it was big for us to then jump into the college space and work with college athletes. Being a college athlete, I'm 38. When we could go into a bookstore and get a number 5 jersey for Josh Harris, our quarterback, and that dude would see 0 cents from it. And so that always kind of annoyed us, or me, and obviously my brother as well, who also went to Bowling Green. And so we shifted, and not only do we work with, now at the time we have 8 pro athletes, and we have 27 college athletes we work with on the football and basketball side. So that's kind of how we got to where we are, fluidly in a space where we saw opportunity, not only for us, obviously, as a business. We're not charity workers, but also opportunity to help people understand who they are, what they are, and to not just be an athlete on the field of court, but like truly grow into this new space. And then I'm also a certified agent as well on top of that.
I saw that. Congratulations, man. That happened pretty recently, right?
That was last year, yeah.
Last year, yeah.
Yeah, year and a half ago, I guess.
Congratulations, man. That's huge.
Thank you.
That's huge.
I studied enough for a test to pass it.
Still an accomplishment, right?
Yeah. I always say this, and this is kind of like a college degree. Like it's cool you got a piece of paper, but it doesn't really mean. It just means like, all right, you get to the next step.
Yeah. And there's always more work to put in.
Yeah. And I was talking with an agent this morning about some of this stuff, and it's never easy. It's hyper competitive, as you know. I'm sure your process was probably crazy coming out, and it's probably been crazy as you've continued to play. But it is a space, and the reason we did this too is like I'm an agent. My brother's not an agent, but we would have these conversations marketing wise with athletes, and then they'd say, their agent handles marketing, and they probably do to a degree, but not to the level we do it. And that would always be a barrier to us to work with athletes, to a lot of the athletes we talk to. And we said, well, how do we eliminate that barrier? I become an agent. We're now a full service agency for NFL players, and we're not on the basketball side. It's just marketing. But yeah, that was why we wanted to do that.
Man. So we're talking about, college and studying. So did you do anything in college? Like, did you study anything in college that you're still using right now? Like, what was your degree, or like anything that you were doing when you were a GA?
I mean, I can't imagine anything I did in college matters now. So I graduated college in 2006. I got my master's in 2011. This just isn't relevant to where we're at today. So for me, where I learned is really when we came out and we were working on these marketing projects for these big companies, and we just saw like this fitness person was killing it, and they have 30,000 followers and they're making 6 figures, and you're like, and I just worked with so and so who's a high level football player or in the NBA or a UFC fighter, and they're doing nothing outside of the cage court field. Or the numbers are way lower because their engagement is low. So, everything I've learned and what we've done is from just us doing it. Like, let's figure out social media is our biggest thing that we've done. Now we've built relationships with brands. We've built relationships with agencies that do the spend for the brand. So there's been some top-down things on that as well. But for us, it's just about like, let's be the best at social media, and that's how we'll build our business.
Man. So let's talk about that. So this new, you mentioned like everything, like none of that applies like from the past because things have changed so much. Like, what is the most important thing as you see it for an athlete in this new like NIL, social media, content creator space? Like, what's the most important aspect of like dominating that space? Like, if you were to be sitting down, like say we're sitting down in a consultation, I guess I'm asking you to give out a free game right now, but like, what's the most important thing that you would say, like, hey, this is what you need to be focusing on and doing?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at my social, I'm giving away free game every day. I don't give I want to help people, right? I'll make the money. We'll make the money somehow, right? But
Right.
let's help people. So there's two things that matter. It's your play and your social. And it's if you only care about your play and you keep your blinders up to this other aspect, you're missing an opportunity. It's like playing. End goal is business, make money, right? For you, play football, but make money, right? Like, that's the end goal for most people. You love the game, you blah, 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 blah. But if you're only going to play football and never give a about social media and marketing, the overall business is going to be hurt. It's like playing with one arm. So I say, like, how can you be relatable and have great content? That's the one thing that you can always do. You can always put out good content. No matter if you're playing football or you're done. At some point, you've had a good career, right? So far, you're going to be done. You're not playing football in 15 years from now, right? You're just not.
Not unless you're Tom Brady.
Right. There's
that's still debatable.
The one, right? Yeah. And so it's like, to us, it's like put yourself in a place to succeed. I was actually just talking. I saw Coach Prime's son had said something about, like, I'm going to make you guys the most famous people on the planet and blah blah blah. And that is awesome. That a team's going to put out great content. I think there's less than 20 college football teams that put out great content for their players. Less than 20. And there's there is not a single school I'd point to that I'd say a good portion of their players put out good content themselves. And you can wait for the NIL collective money, which will come for some guys. You can wait for the team to create content, or you can go and be proactive and create good content yourself. That's probably going to help you. Not probably. It will help you earn more money. It'll help you hopefully get more collective money. And then you add in what the team's doing for you. It's all those things that can help you in this new college landscape we're in.
So good content. What does that look like, and how do you make that on a budget? Like, I can imagine myself as an athlete. All I had was an iPhone, and I mean, if you look at cats like EYL, right? That's all you need. But, like, how do you know, like, okay, I'm shooting this. This is good content. This is going to eventually scale and get me some money. Like, how do you know? Like, what's the metrics that you would look at, as you would tell, like, a athlete to look at and say, okay, I know this is good right here?
Yeah, I say, who gives? Like, if you think it's cool, rock with it. I'm not, like, I know everyone's so damn protective of their IG grid and how that looks and blah blah blah. Screw that. If you look at people, how they act on TikTok, that's how they should also act on their IG. And, like, bring that energy, that vibe, that fun, like, person over to IG. I always say start with personality and process. Show us the person you are, and then show us the things you're doing. Those are, like, easy ways to start creating good content. It ain't easy to pick up the phone and talk. Like, I'm a grown man, 38 years old, and I'll talk to the phone like an idiot, right? A lot of times that can be hard for people. How old are you?
I'm 26.
20, I was going to say 27, right? Right in that range, right? But you grew up on social media, right?
Yeah.
For the most part. I didn't. So when I picked up the phone at 30 and started doing Snapchat and just around on it and then started talking business a little bit, it was awkward. But once you do it, you get better at it. So start with personality and process, and then build out different content pillars from there.
Word. Okay. All
And
right.
think about, like, what you like. Like, who are the people that you follow that you enjoy following that are athletes? That you don't. Yeah, I mean,
look
not
at
like
it. Maybe like Terrell Owens. I really like him.
Okay.
He's out there. I'm trying to think about it, man. I
But
follow
isn't it
Brandon
crazy?
Copeland.
Okay, but isn't it crazy that you're having to think about it? Shouldn't we be like bam, bam, bam? Like athletes that create great content.
Yeah.
Isn't it like that to me, that's where it should be. And you see, like, I think Tom Brady, you mentioned the GOAT earlier. I think Tom Brady does do a good job on social. Is he doing any of that? No, of course not. But he's I guess he is doing some. He'll do the post-game video. He'll speak for a second, shoot it over to his team. They create the great piece behind it. I doubt he posts it. It's probably his team, but maybe he does. But it's minimal effort, and everyone's got that. I mean, you got a team behind you, right? Your agency, they create content, they do things. Like, it doesn't always have to be this great elaborate piece to mean a great piece of content. I think those are two totally different things. Not everyone. A lot of people get caught up in, like, this has to look great to be a good piece of content. I don't think that matters at all. And I think that holds a lot of people up too. It's like, all right, like, we'll have an athlete recently had to do certain things for a brand. And they were like, well, I'll get with my team content creator was what they were gonna do on it, and I was like, just set up your phone and do it. Like whatever you're gonna do is probably gonna be better and feel more authentic. Social, we win more on social when it is authentic.
Yeah.
Right.
Nah, that's true. That's true.
You know, so like a highly produced video can work sometimes, but 9 times out of 10, that video of you just kind of talking me through your day is gonna be better than a camera following you throughout the day.
Yeah. And when you think about that, and if I had to answer that question again about the athletes, I feel like it would be because I'm not thinking about like athlete creators, because I'm not looking at a whole bunch of like lifestyle stuff from athletes.
Sure.
I'm looking at athletes, you know, like yourself, business, front facing business stuff. So like Brandon Copeland, Devon Kennard, and then Terrell Owens. I really like him, but that's because I follow his brand 81 Vino. You know what I'm saying? And I really like, you know, the whole wine thing. So when I think about that, it's more probably because like of the business side. So that kind of leads me to another question I wanted to ask you about Curran Media.
Curran
Media. You know what? I gotta get that Southern want to like drag things out. Curran, but it's Curran. You know what I'm saying? So I gotta get on that. But so with Curran Media, man, let's talk about like building that out and like what was that process like A to Z? Like take me through that.
So again, when we started Curran Media Co., it was brand marketing is where we were. So media companies and brands. And so the company was established. We decided to move to the athlete space. And we'd work with some of these athletes on other things. And we're like, hey, you should, as you see on my content on social, I'm constantly talking about things. So we would reach out to people. We had people that would reach out to us. The first athlete that we had like really worked with had shot me a DM, was like, hey, I need help with my brand building. Can you help? And we're like, yeah, let's do it. We did it. We got one to say yes. From there, it was about building relationships in the DMs, basically. And so it's having combos with people, reaching out, shooting them a DM, responding to their IG story, commenting on their posts. And then from there, you know, also building relationships with their coaches, also word of mouth from them. So that's how we went from that 1 to 35 in just a handful of years. And like humbly, although this is not humble of a thing to say, but like we've turned down hundreds of athletes who've reached out too. Like we could have an agency for 150 people if we wanted. I don't want to do that, and neither does my brother Tim.
What's your reason for turning down? Is it
time?
Based on? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if it was 100 LeBron Jameses, we'll figure that out. But
right.
You know, it's people that certainly. I mean, some of them we would be able to do nothing with anyway. But some of them, you know, are marketable, are good athletes, have good features. It's just time and effort thing. We can only put in so much time. Because if I'm working with you, I'm not gonna bullshit you.
You want to actually provide the value for them.
You know this game. Like when you get signed to an agency, you're either a top priority or you're just a number. And we don't want 35 numbers. We want 35 top priorities. And I really like, you know, I say 35 this whole time. We just released somebody 2 days ago. It's 34 is our number. And this person is a good athlete. I think a good person, has some good qualities, marketability for sure, but doesn't communicate. And it's like, we can't help you. And we've been going through this like 2-month battle with an agency that brought this athlete in on a campaign of, we don't have a response because our athlete is not responding or slow to respond. And we all look like dumb. So it's like we don't want to work with people that we can't vibe and kill it with. And nobody's that we work with is too big to be like, this isn't a fit for us anymore.
Okay. So it sounds to me like it's not just you guys coming in and providing, you know, strategy. Like y'all are actually partnering. Like you want it to be like a team type feel. Yeah.
We work for you. Let us help you out. Let us build your biz. You know, we can help you. We can, you know, for just I guess probably most people not listeners don't know who the hell I am, but like what we do, I didn't explain this up front, but like obviously we talk strategy with our athletes. We work on getting them brand deals. We negotiate. We navigate. Anything they do off the field or court, we handle.
So what's the okay? So for a guy, let's think about like a freshman, maybe a sophomore in college, right? They're playing. They're getting some pretty good snaps, right? So they have a little bit of a name, right? how would you tell them to go about trying to source their own deals? They don't have really like a marketing team or anything, but they have a brand in mind. They have a vision for what they want to look like. How would you tell them to say, go to a company and pitch themselves? What's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah. Well, I'd first say it doesn't matter if you're getting tick or not. Like, it doesn't. It's about your social game. And there's lots of great athletes that suck on social, and it's hurting their pockets. But if you are that guy and you are going to reach out, like, find an authentic fit and go to them with value. Here's why I want to work with you. Here's what I can do. Let's get on a call and chat biz. I think it's very tough to do this on your own. And one problem we have run into is, like, parents think they can do it on their own. And it's usually not a parent that's, like, close to this space. It's like they do some random, but they've been the kid's guider for the last 19 years, and they think they know shit. So they put
and they still want their hands on.
Of course. And I get it too. I got 2 kids. They're young bucks, 3 and 1. So I don't know this dynamic yet of, like, business, of course, but if you don't know it, don't know it. Find people that are going to guide them in the right way. So, but I think, like, find authentic fit, add value. And usually you reach out through DMs on IG or find an email that can fit too.
Word.
Because I do think it doesn't matter if you play. I know it doesn't matter if you play. I just know it doesn't.
That's the most interesting thing you said there, because that's from an athlete's standpoint, like, that's always in my mind. Like, if I'm not playing well, I feel like it's just like I get this emotional reaction. Like, if I'm not playing well, nothing I'm doing off the field even matters. You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel. But
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. But you're saying that's not the truth.
Doesn't matter. Now, does it help when you're playing well and you're so and so at Georgia or somebody big time? Of course, but that's not like our guy. We work with a guy, John Seaton, who's a backup at Elon University, which is FCS football. I don't think he got to 10 snaps this year, but he got some. He got a few snaps, and I know what he makes. He doesn't make the top of the top, but he's that next level kind of guy. A month ago, we were in Dallas for a deal with Dr. Pepper, where he was on a Shark Tank-like thing with it was him, Charlotte Jones, who's Jerry Jones's daughter, and Mark Cuban. So it was like 2 billionaires and this college athlete. A part of the campaign, he's done stuff with Outback. Actually, I got a text just before this from Outback. He's done stuff with Nerf, and he's great on social. He's a monster on TikTok, specifically 1.8 million followers, and that's what he's done. So, and if what we look for when we go out looking for athletes are elite athletes and or elite creators. Ideally, it's the same person. It almost never is, though. Usually, great athletes sucks on social. Usually, the ones that are great on social aren't the most dominant athletes. But I think the reframing of it is what we try to instill in our people, and it's obviously very tough. Like, you have a couple bad games in a row, and, like, you don't want to be on social. You don't want to be posting, and you shouldn't if that's how you feel. But I think so many athletes are caught up in just being the athlete, and their brand is built on the athlete. So when the game goes down, the brand goes down. But if you can build your brand on the person who happens to be a great athlete, it doesn't affect it as much. Like our guy John, if he breaks his leg, it's gonna suck, but that's not gonna affect his bottom line business at all. Might even help it because he's gonna sit around his and create more content. But if you break your leg and you're out for the next year and a half, that hurts biz probably, right? And next steps and free agency and all these things that can happen from an actual athlete who's in the league, right? Of course, yeah. Yeah, twice. But you know what I'm saying? I shouldn't have said you, but like person.
No, I get it.
Right?
Yeah.
Or like top level college athlete. And I always say this too, like Spencer Rattler was a number 1 projected quarterback going into last year by a lot of people. Lost his job midway through the season. Right now he's at South Carolina. He may come back. He may not. There ain't no guarantees in this game, right?
At all.
None. You know how it is. It's a lottery. There's 200 guys at a position basically in the league. Like, and I'm talking like, all right, there's 200-ish DBs, there's 200-ish tackles, or safeties, I should say, 200-ish tackles, 200-ish receivers in the league. If you do the math, there's not that many more if you're at a quarterback, if you're a fullback, if you're a kicker, punter. it's much less, right? That's it in the entire league of all these great players that we've seen for the past 10 years that have had great college careers and even played in the NFL. Like, there's only like 200-ish players playing right now. And there's so many variables that go into this thing, right? It's like, all right, do you get drafted? Where do you get drafted? That matters how long you could potentially go. Do you vibe with the coach? Do you vibe with the coordinator? Is the GM there in 2 years, the one that drafted you? Do you go into a spot where you're a backup and you don't see tick? Do you go into a spot where you're a backup and the guy gets hurt the first day of practice? Like, there's so many variables that go into all this that is such a lottery. It's not like recruiting where you get to pick where you're going either until free agency. Like, you're a 22-year-old out of college and you go wherever they tell you to go.
Right.
And then you got to manage and deal with all these outside factors that you can't control. You can't control where you go. You can't control what that coordinator thinks of you or what the GM thinks of you or the number of snaps you get. Like, you can't control any of that stuff. So it's so much out of your hands. But what you can control is all this branding stuff.
Yeah.
You can't control it. Those other things, the league, the playing time, the great games, those help, obviously.
Right.
But,
right.
You know, if you don't go to the right situation and get the tick you think you deserve, or think that or get the tick that's going to help you build all that stuff, if you're not doing what you can be off the field, you're hurting your biz.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I know a lot of people don't think that way. And I know it becomes like, there is the whole narrative of like, this guy's on he's a social media guy. Well, he's a social media quarterback, right? You've seen that going around. It's like, that's different. That's not what he's saying in this space, but like, there is people that hate on that too. Of course, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and that plays a role into how you feel too, right? You don't ever want people in your comments saying you need to focus and you need to do this. And I've seen that happen with like, teammates and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Cool.
So
yeah. But at the same time, like,
true. Because you got to do you. They're not going to put money on the table, right?
They're not. And your teammates are not going to do it. And they might clown you for some shit, and they do. Like, everyone clowns everybody for everything in the locker room, right? But, the narrative around, like, an athlete can't be a gamer or can't play on social or can't be on social or whatever, it always annoys me because everyone else in every other profession does something else for 20 minutes outside of their job. So it's like,
and that's the thing. That's the thing. It's like, am I supposed to go home and like eat, sleep, and breathe like the playbook and football? Like, it doesn't make sense after a certain point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now there was something you said earlier, and before I forget, I wanted to ask you about it because I know like there's a lot of like college players or high school players going to college and they're looking at NIL, right? And it's it's new, it's shiny, everybody's getting money. But you mentioned that there's like tiers. What are the different tiers? Like, if you had to just kind of give a range, like there's an elite tier, there's a middle tier. Like, what are those tiers, and what should the average, let's say the average Division I starter, what should they expect in NIL earnings?
Totally depends on where you are and your social game. So like the tops of the tops, I heard one guy got offered $10 million last year, turned it down in an NIL deal. I'm pretty confident at least one guy got $3 million. I don't know what a lot of these under the table numbers look like. I've heard of some NIL deals for college quarterbacks going into college being in the 10 million range, multiple. So that's that's real money, right? That's big time money. I would say down to like, $0 too. You could be a player at Georgia, and I'm sure there's guys on the roster at Georgia that make $0. So it really just depends on the person, where you are. I know a lot of the collectives have done what I think is a good job of putting people on like basically a salary. Like Texas Tech is the $25K. There's different places, and it's all like charity based, although you're getting paid to do the charity work. But, every place is different. I don't know. I wouldn't say there's a school or place that does it the best, but yeah, I mean, if you're a good Division I starter at a Power 5 school and are pretty good on social, I mean, you should at least be making 50 to 100,000, like minimum, which is a
year.
Yeah, which is a great job for somebody who's, 20 years old or whatever.
Man, that's tough. And it just kind of makes me, I don't know. Like it makes me a little upset because like you said, there's quarterbacks getting 10 million, $3 million deals, and so it's like if they're placing those type of valuations on players, right? Like right now, like
Yeah.
how many guys in the past have missed out on that value? Like they get that, okay, yeah, they got a scholarship, they got room and board, but like how many guys in the past like that are going to these schools that have gone to these schools are missing out on that value? And I even think about myself, like I wasn't like this big time starter. I didn't go to like a huge Power Five. I went to Vandy, so
Yeah.
not a huge football presence, but like I was on like ads for the school, like I was on commercials, and I had like I was on a billboard for the school in the airport. You know what I'm saying? So I like saw none of that, and like people would send me, like my mom sent me a picture one time by, and I'm like, at the time I'm like, yeah, that's cool, but now looking back, I'm like, that was worth something.
Yeah.
Like that was worth something. It was worth a little bit of money. Like, and I can just imagine like, there's a lot of people who wish that they could play this NIL game right now, man. You know what I mean? Wish that they could have played it. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. And I always position it this way too. Like I don't know how many dudes you played with that went to the league. Probably not 20, but a handful.
Nah, not 20. Right? Handful.
So, those guys went on to the league. You get in the league, you're making good money. Minimum now is 700,000 plus. Like that's a great salary, minimum level, right? But so many people don't sniff the league. You played with 400 guys at Vandy, whatever that number is, around there, and a handful made it to the league in the SEC. I know it's it's not Georgia, but in the SEC. And I think what NIL can help teach people, if done the right way, is like how to build a business around yourself. And now when you're 26, you're not doing some job you hate, but you're doing something you like. And maybe what NIL has taught you is to like build out training kids locally. Or maybe it's told you like you started getting into fashion and now you've built this whole fashion brand. Or, in social media, just like an influencer kind of vibe. Or maybe because you're so good on camera, now you become somebody who creates content for these social media brands, like for like ESPN on social or CBS Sports or whatever. And I know a lot of people don't see it that way. Some do, but I do think this can be a tool. It's the best hands-on education opportunity ever. This isn't a fake class, right? It's real life. It's me. It's my business. It's my brand. I can do whatever I want with it. And I think what it can teach people is to find a place where they can build around their passion. Because that paper, when you get a degree, even a Vandy degree, doesn't really mean shit. It might open.
It doesn't mean much unless you know somebody and they know that you do valuable work and that you're a good, that you're a good worker. That's pretty much what it is.
And I have 2 degrees that aren't like the greatest degrees. Bowling Green State University is not a high level degree, and I have Ashland University, which is a small private school, which is just a whatever degree. I didn't give a about the degrees though, but. And I always tell us the people like that paper, just like the NFL agent thing, is like just a piece of paper. It might help you.
It gets you in the door.
It might get you in the door. Might get you a convo. That doesn't guarantee anything. Yeah. And so if you can go be proactive and start to really build around this stuff, man, you got a real shot. And everyone thinks, league. And it's like, you're not going to the league. I know you were a great player at Vandy or at Bowling Green or at Ohio State, but you're not going to the league. Like the percentages is so crazy low. There's however many Division I, 15,000 Division I players. Does that sound right?
Sounds about right.
120 times ish, right? Ish. And there's 300. Well, let's say 350 guys that'll be drafted or get an invite to a camp.
Yeah, and then after that, there's only 1,600. I think I did the numbers before. It's like 1,600, 1,700 slots if you count active roster and practice squad, and then a lot of them are already spoken for. So.
Yep. Yeah, it's a small percentage, but again, I think this NIL stuff can help you think brand marketing, building a biz, understanding social, and you can do some stuff that you love, and you can stay around this game if you want to stay around this game, or you can use this elevated platform as a football player at, UNLV and, get more eyeballs on your content business, whatever your content is. Like, I remember talking to a coach as a women's basketball coach at a SEC school like a year and a half ago, before this all even opened up. And they're like, what would you do with like this player? and they were an accounting major. And I was like, why don't they start putting out like basic money management tips, right? And of course, they're not going to do it because they're a 21-year-old, and that's just not how they think. And that probably wouldn't get as many views or likes as they want from a photo of them in their fit pregame. But if they started doing that, now they've got this audience. The school, I think, has like 15 to 20,000 people that go to it. You've got their following, the team's following, the school's following, that could all maybe get people in line who are about to graduate school or have money already, who are now following this person based on their financial literacy tips. And I don't know what the business would equate to and how she would make business off of this, but like, man, what if now you got 100 people that trust and believe in you from the last 2 years of school, you talking about this stuff? Like, bam, 100 clients for a business like that is massive, right? And so, of course, people aren't going to do that because that's not how they view it. But if you do, and you can switch the mindset, like, you've got this elevated platform, you can build around this stuff.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, man. And I feel like, for me, I feel like I'm still trying to see it, right? Like, I got the podcast.
You doing this?
I am. Yeah, no, I got the podcast. I'm doing it, but I'm still trying to see, like, I feel like you have a good grasp on how big it can actually be. Like, not just it for a single person, but just like the whole ecosystem. And I feel like I'm still trying to see it. Like, I'm still trying to see like where it fits in. Like, cause like we were talking about the degrees, that's kind of what we were sold, right? That's kind of what I was sold. You go to school, you get a good degree. You know, when I was getting recruited, it was, think 40 years, not 4. You get this degree, you're going to be set up for the rest of your life, right? That's completely changing. That's completely changing right now. And it's all about content, brand strategy, NIL, because I look at a lot of this stuff and it's like AI is about to start taking over a lot of jobs. I don't know how soon, but it's like after a certain point, you got to kind of create your own type of value. And that's kind of how I feel about NIL. It's like it's just you creating your own value in the college space.
Totally. And be proactive. Like, do your thing. Like, by the way, if we hired somebody, there's no way I would be like, what's your degree in? I don't give a shit. Like, that's never something we would look at. Like, we hired somebody not that long ago. I don't know if they actually graduate. I don't know what school they started at. I don't know if they have the degree there. I didn't ask. Never had a convo about it.
So what do you ask? What are you looking for?
We would be different in a way of, like, we want people who can be down for what we're talking about, like understand conceptually what we're talking about, marketing, business wise, and then have a vibe that we feel like can connect to athletes and us. And so usually we're looking at athletes, like older athletes, old people like you, like 26-year-old.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah, new in the game, or new out of the game, I should say, but new in this game from a marketing standpoint, and can connect and talk. Like, that's all I care about is, can you chop it up with somebody and have an intelligent thought around what we're talking about? And we'll help you build this and we'll help you manage it. But, like, could you be in that way? Again, what you learn in that, even if you take a social media class, a marketing class, I'm not in those classes right now, I guess, but I'd imagine what you learn is not as valuable as what we would be able to teach you in like a week of, here's what we can do, here's what we're doing, here's how to do it, here's how to implement it. And I just don't think it would be that close.
It's crazy whenever I talk to somebody in business, that's in business for themselves and looks at like hiring talent or connecting with talent. It's always about relationships. Like, it's never about like, of course the skill part is important, but it's like mostly it's about communication, those soft skills that people a lot of times neglect when it comes to, degrees and stuff. It's all about the technical and stuff. So go ahead.
I was gonna say, I just hired an intern the other day, and intern emailed me, and I'm weird in this way too, because I just thought this was funny. Your new intern was the subject of it. And I said, it was through a program, and I said, here's what I'm looking for, the outline of it. I don't want a resume because I don't care. Just shoot me a message in a couple sentences, tell me why you'd be good. And so the heading is, again, your new future intern. And then I had a funny line or two in there, got on a call, and I was like, yeah, she's a fit. Bam, hired. Let's do it.
Sense of humor.
Yeah, it was just a stupid thing. But I knew, like, all right, she's not going to be, a lot of times we have to reprogram these college students because they've learned things that we don't want them to learn in the way they're taking things. Like, they show up in a suit for a convo, I'm like, yo, that ain't us. That's not like an end all be all, but like that's not how we operate. I'm gonna say we're gonna be different, right? We're just like that's not us. So we want people that are gonna fit us, and that's what we look for.
Word. So before we wrap up, man, I know you do a lot of like NIL, like you comment on a lot of the things that go on in the NIL space on your Instagram. What's your favorite piece of marketing that you've come across from a college athlete?
I really liked this was Jonathan Brooks at Texas. This was like 2 days ago or 3 days. Was it the portal opened 2 days ago? I don't know when this is coming out, so I don't know if I'm dating us here, but portal just opened a little bit ago. Jonathan Brooks is running back at Texas, and he had this whole portal announcement thanking people, thanking coaches, thanking the fans, thanking his family, and then underneath that was, and the best place to see all of the new portal news is at sullyhorns.com. I ain't going anywhere, but check them out. Like that was the vibe.
Yeah.
It wasn't a quote, but topical. Everyone's talking about the portal. The look of it looked like a portal announcement. And you read it. The first couple sentences were like, oh, he's gone. And then bam, he hits you with this is an ad actually. And follow this Texas specific fan football account for more details. And got unreal amounts of engagement. I scrolled through the comments and it was like, oh man, you almost had us, or thank God, or blah, blah, blah. And, I didn't look at the rest of his posts. I saw some, but it might have been his biggest engaged with post ever. He had it on Twitter. His IG had the comments off, and I was like, yo, turn your comments on so people can do the same thing they're doing on Twitter. And he did, but it was like 6 hours later. So I thought that was creative, interesting, and topical. Got a bunch of engagement, which I'm sure makes that brand happy, and that's what it's about. So I don't know what he made on it. I don't know any behind-the-scenes stuff. I thought that was cool. I love what we did with our guy John Seaton with the Dr. Pepper thing. Mm-hmm. And it was, so he basically, what he did, he announced that you could earn a scholarship and for both tuition and then money was what he did on TikTok. And then, like I said, we were in Dallas and he's on a Shark Tank. We didn't call it Shark Tank, but that's what it was. Like that was the setup of it. And literal Mark Cuban on there and him and Charlotte Jones and this 20-year-old who is a college athlete is helping decide which of these three students, not student athletes, but students are going to get $23,000 in tuition and $23,000 in seed money. Like a big deal and really cool for him to be a part of. So those are two of my favorites here the last month or so.
No, that's really cool. And the thing you mentioned about the Texas guy, you jumped in his DMs, told him to cut his stuff on. That's something you've done with me in the past as well, man. I really appreciate that, your willingness to just like give out free game, help out, you know what I'm saying? And even when I wasn't comfortable doing some of the stuff, I went back and I revisited it like a week or a month after, and I'm like, yo, that's okay, that's good. That's good game right there, man. So I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that.
I do that all the time. Some people listen, some people don't see it probably. Some are just like off. And occasionally, sometimes when I talk about people on the IG story, even though I try to do it in a positive light, or at least like a not negative light, I get blocked because I'm like, yo, he should keep his comments on. And then he's like, block. Or his agent runs the account and blocks me.
Hey, comes with the game, right?
I know.
Comes with the game. Hey, but so before we wrap, man, can you tell everybody where they can find you on social media, how they can contact you and get in contact with you?
Yeah, and DM me. Like if you've got questions, thoughts, ideas, DM me. If you're a business, an athlete, whatever. But I'm on every platform, most active on IG, Twitter, and TikTok, but at Pat_Curran Media. I'm sure you'll see it if you listen to the podcast. Look at the title. That's how you spell my last name. But again, Pat_Curran Media.
Pat_Curran Media, not Curran. Curran Media.
Curran, baby.
Curran Media. All right, man. I appreciate your time, dog.
I appreciate you.
All right, man. See y'all next time.